What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of Smoke World. I'm your host, Stone. So go grab that stick, go grab a glass, whatever you're drinking. Let's sit back and have that conversation. You can follow me on Instagram at Smoke World Podcast. Email stone@smokeworldpodcast.com. The website, smokeworldpodcast.com. This episode is a replay. This is with my brother Dante, who is the owner and operator of Cigar Reacon. If you're not familiar with Cigar Reacon, go check out that website, cigarrecon.com, or do a search engine search in your Google, MSN, AOL, whatever the case may be. Google Cigar Reacon. This is Dante. And he shares, this is about maybe over a year ago, he shares some information about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. And because it's a thing that's back in the market, it's back on conversation, people's tongue, I figure I will share this episode again. Again, my brother Dante, appreciate you. Sit back and enjoy. I have in the building my brother Noir, who has actually a podcast entitled Cigars and Crypto. Been hard, brother, to track down, but I got him in the building. It's all good. What's up, brother? How you feel today, sir? What's going on?
I'm well, brother. How are you, man? No complaints.
Man, I appreciate you taking the opportunity and sitting down with me. It's been a little while. I know your schedule's been busy, but I really appreciate you sitting down and having a conversation with the Smoke World crew.
I appreciate you having me, man.
Thank you, brother. Get a little background. You from? Where you from?
Well, I live here in Delaware. Originally from New York. Have a background in IT, and it's pretty much the skinny. Okay.
And, you know, he is a brother of the leaf.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. So we can't forget that.
Oh, yeah.
He's a cigar smoker who smokes the premium of all cigars. You know, those who know me, I'm in the Stony lane. It's not as if I don't like those cigars. I love those cigars, but it's what my pockets can handle. You know what I mean? It's what my pockets can handle. Now, I bring you on today because, again, I like to educate the listeners a lot of times in Smoke World. Mm-hmm. You do cryptocurrency, you know.
Yes.
Is that AKA Bitcoin? Would that be correct? Again,
Bitcoin is one of the cryptocurrencies.
Okay, so it's one of the.
Yeah.
So give us a little background on that whole thing. Well, first, before we even go there, because you actually do have your podcast. Again, shout your podcast out and kind of give folks an idea what you do on your podcast.
Sure. Well, my show is Cigars and Crypto. We are the perfect blend of high-quality premium cigars and cryptocurrency news and commentary. I have core developers, lead developers, CEOs, chief financial officers in the cryptocurrency and blockchain space on my show to talk to my listeners about what cryptocurrency is and how it can improve their lives.
Okay, good stuff. So now how do you actually find these guests on your podcast?
Well, fortunately, I've been in the cryptocurrency space since 2014, so people know that I'm out there. So most of the time I just reach out to them via Twitter or Bitcoin Talk or Instagram or Reddit. And I say, hey, I would love to have you on my show so we can have a talk about your project and what you're doing.
Okay, good stuff, good stuff. So, okay, now, folks, the education begins. So if you wasn't paying attention, it's now time to pay attention. Okay, now you say cryptocurrency and Bitcoin is a part of that particular currency. So I guess you can explain, folks, you know, give that breakdown exactly, I guess, what is cryptocurrency. We start there.
Okay. Cryptocurrency is a digital financial asset. Most people, when they hear that, they're like, oh, that sounds weird. But if you use a credit card or debit card, you're already using a form of digital currency where you're not taking paper dollars or coins out of your pocket to pay for goods or services. Cryptocurrency is native to the internet. PayPal had to build a system that would allow people to buy things on eBay using a credit card or debit card. Mm-hmm. They had to build a system for that. Cryptocurrency is native to the internet. It's built on the internet and doesn't require a third party for you to transact and for you to purchase goods and services.
Interesting. Okay. Now, if one is interested in doing that, what are some of the steps they would need to take to say, hey, you know what, I'm interested in it? Well, again, like I said, you mentioned, I think, PayPal.
Right.
And I say a lot of folks have PayPal because I can speak personally because through my personal experience, just maybe through the last week, someone asked me that I have the Cash App, and I didn't even have that yet. I just finally got that. Very simple to set up, but that's something important. Like I said, kind of moving where technology and where we are now, as far as, back in the day, we used to call it the Mac machine, money access center. Now they call it ATMs, but if you're old school, I'm going to the Mac.
Right.
Some folks don't have no idea what that is. So I guess that was just back in that time. I'm going to say that might have been in the late 80s when they came out with the Mac with the little blue card.
Yep.
Yeah. So we dating ourselves here, but don't tell nobody. But, as technology progresses, as we progress, I guess this is a similar avenue to that. But like I said, now, has that really caught on? And what do you think some of the challenges are? If it hasn't, why hasn't it? Or speak to it has.
Right. Well, I don't think cryptocurrencies have caught on the way people in the cryptocurrency space would like. The retail investor or the average Joe, the Main Street person, But I think that it is slowly coming online. I think there are a lot of people out there who now have at least heard of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the oldest. It's the first of all the cryptocurrencies. Okay. So Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer transactional system. PayPal, banks, debit cards, they rely on a third party to take custody of your money. So when you get paid, your paycheck goes into a bank, and then you use the card that the bank gives you, and you swipe your card, or you go to the ATM machine, and then the bank takes money from you. So they take a fee for you to use your card. Okay. When you go to get a loan for money, the bank takes a fee for giving you a loan. Peer-to-peer currencies are the opposite of that. You take custody of your own money, and you are the one who's responsible for it, and the fees are minimal. We're talking fractions of a % as opposed to going out to get a mortgage and you're paying 3.25% interest on a $400,000 mortgage. I think as time goes on, more and more people will begin to accept cryptocurrencies. They will find it easier to use. And right now, there's just a niche space for cryptocurrencies. Early adopters like me, some people like it because you can send, countless amount of money anywhere in the world and it be there in 30 minutes. Like, I think about if you are here and you're working, but you have family somewhere else, right? I have family in the Bahamas.
Okay.
If one of them says, hey, I need you to send me some money, fell on hard times, I need to get my car fixed, right? When you think of sending money, you think of MoneyGram or Western Union, right? When you send money abroad, you're going to probably pay 15 to 20% for that transaction. So sending $100 is now $115 or $120. And you're going to spend extra if you want them to get it in an hour. Okay. Normally, international transactions take a couple of days to do, right? And you need to go to an institution that does anti-money laundering and KYC, know your customer. So you have to show your ID and all of these other documents to make that transaction happen. Cryptocurrencies its central tenet is based on privacy. So for me to send you $10 on cryptocurrency, I don't have to give anyone my ID. I don't have to wait 3 days for you to get it. If I wanted to send you $100, you'll have it in 30 minutes. If I wanted to send you $100 million, you could have it in 30 minutes. There was a transaction that just happened, I think, 2 weeks ago. No, as a matter of fact, the federal government seized some illicit Bitcoin funds from a dark web organization, right? The attorney representing the person who was holding the funds sent $100 million to the government, and it cost them $11.78.
Wow.
Try sending $100 million with regular money or through a bank.
Wow.
You're going to probably spend about $100,000 to do that, and it's going to take 5 business days to get done.
Wow, because like I said, I know you mentioned peer-to-peer. Is that the reason? Because now you're not utilizing that third party as the bank
Exactly.
to do those transactions.
Exactly.
Okay. So again, what do you think? Again, you're not crypto, but you have knowledge. What do you think some of the challenges are? Is it based on people's lack of knowledge about cryptocurrency, that it's not as popular with the mainstream, or just folks don't feel comfortable, or is it, again, I know it's regulations for everything, but could you speak to that? Or again, you may not know the answer.
No. I think it's both.
Okay.
People are accustomed to having a bank taking custody of their funds. People feel safe knowing that their money is in the bank, right? Also, when cryptocurrencies first came out, let me be specific. When Bitcoin first came out, the appearance, the attitude towards it from the government was that it's something that's illegal or nefarious, and only bad people use it. So that's steered people away from it. And it's also that people just don't know. There are a lot of people who just don't know that cryptocurrencies are out there. And so I think the challenge to cryptocurrency is adoption. And adoption up until this point, well, up until around last year, was trying to get the everyday user to use it and marketing to them directly. The people who were marketing to them weren't marketing people, they were software engineers. So there's a disconnect in the language. There's no lingua franca there. There's no communication or translation there. I think now that you have banks like Goldman, JP Morgan Chase, BlackRock, you have financial services companies coming online like Winwood and a few others that are now accumulating Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as stable, or not stable, as appreciating assets. You're starting to find that more people are learning about it because financial advisors are saying, hey, you may want to have this in your portfolio just in case. Yes, it's volatile. The price goes up and down a lot. But year over year for the last 11 years, it's outperformed every other asset in all asset classes. So if you would have got into cryptocurrency in 2010 when Bitcoin was 3 cents, today it's $15,636.
Oh, well, you may need to repeat that.
Right.
Okay, hold on, folks. I don't know if you caught that. Okay, when Bitcoin came out, what year was that, sir?
This was the white paper dropped in 2009. People started buying it in 2010, buying and mining it in 2010.
Okay, so in 2010, it was about what
About
price?
3 cents.
3 cents. And today, it's what?
It's around $15,636.
1,000. That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Okay, I'm sorry. Proceed.
Yeah, okay. So it has outperformed every other asset across all asset classes, right? And this is what makes it attractive to investors and large businesses. What makes it attractive to the retail user is the privacy component associated with it. It can be private like cash, but Bitcoin is not private. I want to make sure that people understand that. It's not private. It's pseudo-anonymous, meaning if I send you $100 in Bitcoin right now, right? Bitcoin sits on an open public ledger. Okay. So anyone who has your address or anyone who has access to a blockchain explorer could look and see that this address sent that address $100.
When you say address, are we talking about IP addresses, or are we talking
No,
about...
they're like a public address is the address that shows up in your Bitcoin wallet.
Okay.
Okay. So think of an address, a public address, like the numbers on your debit card.
Okay.
With the date. That's important.
Gotcha.
The private key, which is the number that sits underneath your wallet, is the PIN number and those 3 digits on the back of your debit card. Okay. So as long as no one has that information, it's very difficult for them to use your debit or credit card. The same principle exists with cryptocurrency. Your public key is just for people to see. Your private key is what you hold dear, near and dear to you.
Okay.
Okay. So I think to go back to your earlier question about the challenges, I think looking forward, if we want more people to start using cryptocurrencies, we have to create vehicles, payment rails, and systems for them to be incentivized to use it. So what I mean by that, there are places that I go where I am specifically looking for people that accept Bitcoin because it's cheaper.
You mean the product would be cheaper?
The product will be cheaper. Okay. Because when a business sells you a good or service, they not only have a markup, but if you're using a credit card, they're being charged 2.75% plus 30 cents for each transaction.
Gotcha.
Right? If you have a low margin business, meaning your margins are small, that can really eat into your profit. Right? So imagine a world where you go out, like when I was in Aruba, I took my wife to Aruba for our honeymoon. And there was a place there called Linda's Dutch Pancake House, right? And I went online and I found this place that accepted Bitcoin in Aruba. I purposely sought them out. They had two menus.
Okay.
They had a menu that reflected US dollars, and then they had another menu that reflected cryptocurrency prices. The crypto menu was about 15% cheaper than the other menu because there's no need to mark up and add in for the cost of doing business.
Gotcha. That transfer, that transaction fee.
Right. And I think that is how we'll get more people using it, when people see that they can save money doing it.
Okay, now, we're avid cigar smokers and we hit different lounges.
Oh, yeah.
So is this something that maybe you proposed or be willing to propose to some of the lounges to say, hey, again, it sounds like more of an educational scenario in the beginning to educate these, lounge owners or vendors to say, there's a way to actually accept crypto money, cryptocurrency. But again, education.
Yeah.
Because folks don't know
Right.
what's all involved, or they heard about it like me. Again, that's why I wanted you on the podcast, because you're so knowledgeable about this. And folks, you hear people talk about it, but they really don't know. You just something, oh, yeah, Bitcoin. That's as far as it goes.
Right.
Just be
Right.
real. Oh, yeah, what about Bitcoin? Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
So is that possible, you think, to sit down with some of the lounges and say, hey, you know what? There's a way to maybe, cut some costs here where you can actually start utilizing and accepting cryptocurrency. So something you might, that's throwing a little bit at you.
No. You're right, because I have had those conversations with a lot of the places that I go.
Right.
Larger lounges, chain lounges like Davidoff, Burn by Rocky Patel.
Okay.
They're not interested. They have a payment infrastructure set up that works well for them.
Okay.
They are familiar with the regulations behind that payment infrastructure and the costs of research and in bringing in new components like point of sale transaction devices is something that they feel is cost prohibitive because they're so large.
Gotcha.
Smaller lounges, I've definitely had that conversation with.
Okay.
And it's not a conversation that you can have one time and then they're just sold.
Right.
Because as you said, it's an education that has to take place. But when you go to smaller lounges that have very small margins, it becomes attractive for them because generally people who are willing to spend Bitcoin probably have a lot of Bitcoin.
Okay.
And so they're looking for places to spend Bitcoin. Like there are apps out there right now that I use to get Bitcoin back as like a cash back reward.
Okay.
And there are also platforms out there that I go to spend Bitcoin to pay for things so that I'm not taking money out of my house or out of my paycheck. Like I like to travel a lot. I fly around a lot.
Okay.
So if I want to fly somewhere, I'll go to Expedia and I can use Bitcoin to buy my flight, my hotel.
Oh, wow.
I'll go to Cheap Air to buy flights, hotel, rent cars. If I need furniture, I go to, what's the name of that place? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but there is an online retailer that accepts Bitcoin for just about any household good that you want.
Oh, wow. So that's what I'm saying. There's a market for all this.
Oh, yeah, there's a market for this. And these people got into Bitcoin early. So people were spending Bitcoin with them when Bitcoin was $300, because that's when I got into Bitcoin. Bitcoin was about $350.
Okay.
And they've been around since 2014. Well, before 2014 when I got in. And so now those people who were spending 3 or 4 Bitcoin for $150 or $200 transaction, those $350 Bitcoin are now worth $15,636 each.
Wow.
And so that has really gone to boost the valuation for these companies. Overstock.com, that's the name of the company.
Okay.
So you can go to Overstock and use Bitcoin to buy anything.
Wow. Okay.
I buy cigars with Bitcoin. So.
Okay, so now with that being the case, the average person, you mentioned $15,000. Now, if you're holding that, that's great. But the one who's interested in getting into the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, that might not be a reasonable number for the average working person to say,
Right.
hey, you know, I have $15,000 to throw on this particular
Right.
Bitcoin. So how can one get into it, and is there a way to do it now with the numbers, what they are, and say, you know, they may have a few $100s, maybe.
Right.
Is there any way to actually assess the Bitcoin with those type of numbers and
Yes.
that type of revenue that one may have?
It most definitely is. The US dollar is divisible by 100 parts. So 100 pennies gives you 1 US dollar. Bitcoin is divisible by 10 million parts. So you can literally go out and buy $1 worth of Bitcoin.
Oh, okay.
The easiest way to get into Bitcoin is using something called DCA, dollar cost averaging, where you take the same amount of money every pay period, 5, 10, 20, 50, $100, and you use Cash App.
Okay.
And you take Cash App, you go in, there's an option there that lets you buy stocks, and right next to that stock button is Bitcoin. Press the Bitcoin button, buy $10, buy $50, and you could do that every pay period.
And that's something you can do just like you
That's
paying
something-
someone for the Cash App.
That's something I do.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to repeat that again.
Yeah.
So I was paying attention. Okay, on Cash App.
Right.
Okay, now we talking the app Cash App.
Right,
There are
the app
different-
Cash App.
Okay, so there are different Cash Apps to some degree, meaning you can utilize different companies. So, but this is Cash App, the green icon.
Right.
Okay.
So you go into Cash App.
All right, folks, we're doing this live.
Right. You go into Cash App.
Gotcha.
And on iPhone, there are 5 options at the bottom. It looks like a house, a card, a $sign, a squiggly line, and a clock. Right?
Okay.
You go to the squiggly line, and that's for investing. And investing, you see stocks and Bitcoin. Right? You click on Bitcoin. You click on buy. And then it says buy Bitcoin, and it gives you 2 options there. It starts with standard one-time order. But if you hit the drop down, it gives you the option to buy daily, weekly, or every 2 weeks. And you have to buy a minimum of $10.
Okay.
So you could literally buy $10 worth of Bitcoin every pay period.
Interesting.
And it comes directly off of your debit card or your bank account.
Okay.
And that's the best way to get into Bitcoin. That's the best way to get into anything that you're investing in. It's good if you have the money to drop on Amazon. If you've got a couple of grand to drop on Amazon, that's great. But you can also go to Cash App, go to investing, and you can buy fractions of Amazon. So you could buy $20 or $50 worth of Amazon every pay period. And as the value of that stock accrues and gains value, so does your investment. And the same holds true for Bitcoin.
Wow. I just really learned something. I mean, I learned many things, but that's interesting to learn that someone actually, because most folks do have Cash Apps. See, like old people like myself was one of those old dinosaurs who refused to do it. I don't know why I thought it was difficult. I'm like, oh, it's going to be too many steps. It was very simple. It took about 5 minutes, if
Right.
that, basically utilizing your debit card.
Yep.
So that right there, some knowledge dropped there. Oh, man. Wow. Any other little tricks and trades that you maybe to share with the folks in reference to this? Where can they look up some stuff if they're interested in looking? Maybe, I guess they can Google
Yeah.
cryptocurrency, or would you recommend?
When I first got into Bitcoin, I went to bitcoin.org. And it teaches you there exactly what Bitcoin is, how it's different, how to use it, and how to hold and secure it. Once you've gone there, then I would suggest maybe going on YouTube and just watching YouTube videos on what cryptocurrency is. And that's a good kind of primer for getting into Bitcoin. Once you've gotten in the habit of making a biweekly purchase of Bitcoin from Cash App, then if you want to look into other cryptocurrencies like Litecoin, Ethereum, XRP, Dash, Zcoin, or any of those other currencies like Noir, then you can kind of move into that direction once you have that base foundation. But I would always start at bitcoin.org to get all the education and information that you need to get started.
Okay, now would you recommend folks save this opposed to, they say, hey, I have another means of spending money and go to these sites, Expedia, or would you recommend, hey, once you buy these Bitcoins, it would be my recommendation that maybe you should hold on to this because again, from where you purchase and to where it's at today,
right?
It's a hell of an investment,
right?
What would your recommendation be with that scenario with someone who's buying, small increments of Bitcoin? Should they say, oh, you know what? Hey, I found this website. You're right. It's much cheaper, so I can just go ahead and do my transaction via this way. Or would you recommend, you know what? Buy that, hold on to it, and, just continue to spend your cash and just use this as an investment because this has a tendency to grow.
Okay. So I'm going to answer that question in 4 parts. Okay. Part 1, I am not a financial advisor, so I can't give financial advice.
Disclaimer.
Right. You know what I mean?
Smoke world.
Right. So I can't give financial advice. But what I can say is I dollar cost average, and I accumulate Bitcoin. I also trade on markets for Bitcoin. That's part 1.
Okay.
Part 2. Profit is not realized until it's realized. So you could buy stock and stock could go up, you put in $100, it goes up to $10,000. But if you don't spend any of that profit, it's not profit.
Right.
Because if it goes down to $90,
right, now you'd have lost.
You'd have lost.
Gotcha.
Okay. So should you hold it as an investment? Yes. Should you use it as money? Yes. It's the first time in history that we have an asset that functions both as a commodity and as cash. So the value goes up and down, but the value mainly goes up. So you can hold it as an asset, like a savings account. Okay. But it's also fully fungible and transferable, so you can spend it as money. So you start dollar cost averaging using Cash App today. You put in $100. Next year, your $100 is now worth $130, right? Spend $30.
Gotcha.
Treat yourself. Spend $30.
And not for nothing, man. You said you wasn't a financial advisor, but, women has it. It sounds like you're a financial advisor.
Nah, I wish I was, man. You know what, though? Believe it or not, there is a new certification out for people who are interested in becoming a chartered digital financial advisor. And so I think I'm going to invest in myself.
Yes.
In move in that direction.
Not to ask you, man. I just agree. I don't really know what that is.
Okay. All right. The only chartered financial advisors can legally give you financial advice. Anyone else who does that is breaking the law.
Gotcha.
And you don't know if that person has a solid background in finance to give you sound advice. So these people who have this certification, the CFA, they're chartered financial advisors. They register with the state. They take certifications with the state. They paid a couple of $1,000s to get the certification so that they can sit in front of you, take custody of your retirement fund, and trade for you.
Gotcha.
You see what I mean?
Okay, but I say because we smoke cigars, we got a specialist in every cigar lounge that does relationship,
right,
addiction,
right.
money.
Right.
So I was just curious. Okay, the difference is you actually give them your personal information.
Yes.
And then okay, gotcha.
Yes. And so I am not a certified digital asset advisor, so I can't give that type of information officially.
Okay.
But I am working to become one.
Great.
So that I can kind of transition out of my 9 to 5 and move into a new thing.
Okay, when that does happen, now I'm going to put you on the spot. To commit to come back to Smoke World, to be able to advertise yourself, number one, and to actually basically market yourself. And like I said, this has been a blessing right here, that information that you gave us. Jewels, some nuggets, you dropped down some information. Because again, this is more of an educational thing, because we all hear, at least, the word cryptocurrency, we hear about Bitcoin, but do we really know what that means? Yeah. I think a lot of folks don't, and I think that may be a reason and a challenge for where we're at now, why it isn't so popular. Because again, it's one of those kind of things you hear about. Mm-hmm. Okay, I heard about that. But like I said, you just gave us, again, that nugget that you can do something in cash at, that most people, even me now, actually has.
Yeah.
And able to do that. So great. All right. Well, that's what's up, brother. So, but I want you to come back, man.
You can count on it.
Okay, definitely come back. Change the subject a little bit. What you been smoking, brother? I know you've been smoking everything, but that's how he is, folks. He's the man right here. Trust me when I tell you.
I had today I smoked an Emilio special that was called Carpe Noctem. Picked that up earlier today. I have a virtual cigar lounge that starts at 5 o'clock. So for that, I have the Roma Craft Neanderthal HN, and I'll be smoking a Fuente Opus X.
Okay, now I'm glad you mentioned that. You have a virtual, basically, cigar club. Mm-hmm. How can folks find that if they're interested to join you? Is this close to the public, or can?
No, just host. Hit me up, herfsociety.com. Send me a message, Herf, HERF, society.com, or message me on Twitter at Invest Noir, INVEST NOIR.
Okay, and you do also have Instagram.
Yeah, I'm on IG as Cigars and Crypto.
Okay, get that out again, because they're kind of all blended together.
Let
folks know
where
they can follow you at.
Got you. So follow me on Instagram at Cigars and Crypto.
Okay.
On Twitter at Invest Noir, or at Cigars and Crypto. I'm on Twitter as Cigars and Crypto as well. Or you can just email me at hello@cigarsandcrypto.com.
Great, brother. I appreciate you, man. Is there anything else you want to share? Because again, you've been breaking stuff down. I feel like I should be paying you, but
no, man.
I'll have to wait for my investors.
Nah, this guy. Nah, man. Only thing I want to share is a cigar with you again, man.
Oh, God bless you, brother. That's what's up, brother. Well, listen, brother, I appreciate you coming through, being a guest. Folks, you heard it right here, Noir. Follow him. He's on Instagram, Cigars and Crypto. Check out his podcast. Brother, thank you for sitting down with me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the invite, brother. You have a great day.
All right, do the same. God bless. Well, there you have it, folks. Another episode of Smoke World in the books. Now, I know some folks may be confused, like Stone, you said his name was Dante, but you called him Noir. Mind your business. Street names. We do what we do. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you learned something. Again, you can follow me on Instagram at Smoke World Podcast. Email Stone at SmokeWorldPodcast.com. Website SmokeWorldPodcast.com. And again, folks, don't forget to share, like, subscribe. Listen, I can't believe I thought about it. That was over a year ago. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. We're over a year strong, folks. I thank you for your support. And I'm promising you stuff I got coming. Trust me. Just putting logistics together. It's not an easy thing. Appreciate you. Stay safe. Peace.